The rain hammered the windshield like fists of regret as I floored the accelerator through Chicago's slick streets, my knuckles white on the wheel. "You're killing him, Peter. You're killing him for that bastard." I screamed into the phone, but the line had gone dead, his silence louder than any lie he'd ever told me. By the time I burst through the hospital doors, the sterile scent of bleach couldn't mask the rot of betrayal settling in my gut. I was 12 when I first knew I was different, hiding crushes on the boys at recess while the girls giggled over pop stars. But it wasn't until Uncle Peter, my mom's older brother, the golden boy of our fractured family, showed up at our door in Pilsen that summer of '05, fresh from a stint in the Marines, that I understood what it meant to ache for someone you couldn't have. He was 28 then, broad-shouldered and easy with a grin that lit up the block like the 4th of July fireworks over Lake Michigan. "Hey, kid," he'd say, ruffling my hair. "You're gonna break hearts one day." Little did I know he'd shatter mine first. Our family was the kind stitched together with grit and gospel, the sort that traced roots back to the steel mills of Gary, Indiana, where Grandpa Felix, named after some long-dead Irish uncle, had sweated out 40 years bending rebar for U.S. Steel. Mom always called him the Rock, but by the time I was Felix Jr. or just Little F, as everyone shortened it, he was more like weathered limestone, cracked but unyielding. Dad split when I was 6, chasing pipe dreams in California, so it was Mom, me, and the ghosts of better days in our shotgun rental on 18th Street. Peter was the glue, the one who fixed the leaky roof without asking, who slipped me 20s for school clothes and whispered, "Don't let this city chew you up, F." He was gay, though no one said it outright back then. It hung in the air like the humidity off the lake. Whispers at family barbecues about that friend from the service who'd visit too often. The way Peter's eyes lingered on the rough trade at pride parades he dragged me to as a teen, claiming it was education. I came out to him at 16, trembling over stolen beers in his pickup after a Bears game. "Uncle Pete, I like guys. Really like them." He pulled me into a bear hug that smelled of Old Spice and motor oil, his voice gravelly. "Kid, that's not a curse. It's your compass. Just don't let it point you wrong." That night, under the neon buzz of a corner tavern, he kissed my forehead and said, "Your family, always." We were close, too close, maybe. Summers meant road trips to the dunes at Indiana Dunes National Park, where we'd hike shirtless through the whispering pines, him telling war stories from Fallujah that ended in laughs to keep the darkness at bay. I'd steal glances at the V of his back, the salt on his skin, telling myself it was admiration, nothing more. By college, at UIC studying social work because someone's gotta fight the good fight, Peter had become my anchor. He worked construction, saved every dime, and when Grandma passed in 15, he moved back from his solo apartment in Wicker Park to care for Grandpa. "Blood's thicker than concrete," he'd joke, but I saw the toll. The late nights rubbing Grandpa's arthritic hands, the way Peter's laugh grew thinner. That's when I met Javier, or rather, when Peter did. Javi was a bartender at the Hideout, all sharp cheekbones and salsa-dancing hips, the kind of guy who made you believe in fate over tequila shots. Peter brought him to a family Easter in 18, and I watched from across the Formica table as they lit up like bioluminescence in the dark. "This one's trouble," Peter confided later, but his eyes sparkled. They were electric, lazy Sundays at Montrose Beach, Peter's hand on Javi's knee during blustery lakefront runs. I was happy for him, truly, even as a pang twisted in my chest. I dated around, quick flings with baristas and bar hops, but nothing stuck. Peter was the yardstick no one measured up to. Grandpa's stroke hit like a derailment in 20, right as COVID locked the world down. He was 78, his pension from the mills, modest but steady, $2,800 a month after Grandma's share. Suddenly the lifeline keeping him out of some understaffed nursing home. Peter quit construction gigs to become full-time caregiver, Javi pitching in with meals and meds. "We're in this together," Peter said, signing the power of attorney papers in Grandpa's shaky scrawl. I helped when I could, weekends folding laundry in the dim bungalow on the south side where Grandpa had raised 4 kids on dreams deferred. Peter and I would sit on the stoop after, cracking hams and watching fireflies duel the streetlights. "You ever think about settling down, F?" he'd ask, and I'd shrug. "Not with the world on fire, but in those quiet beats, with the L rumbling distant like thunder." I wondered if he knew. The cracks showed first in whispers. Javi's business trips to Miami stretched longer. Peter's shifts at odd jobs piled up to cover unexpected expenses. Grandpa's checks started bouncing, pharmacy bills unpaid, the home health aide let go. "It's just a rough patch," Peter assured me over FaceTime in 22. His face gaunt in the screen's glow. I was interning at a nonprofit in Logan Square by then, advocating for queer youth in the foster system, too buried in grants to dig deeper. Then Mom called from her nursing shift. "Felix, your grandpa's fridge is empty." Peter's dodging me. I drove over that night, the November wind whipping Lakeshore Drive into a frenzy. The bungalow sagged under neglect, peeling paint, overgrown weeds choking the chain-link fence. Inside, Grandpa dozed in his recliner, a blanket of faded Bears jerseys draped over his lap, the TV murmuring infomercials. Peter was in the kitchen, staring at a stack of overdraft notices like they were landmines. "What's going on?" I demanded, voice low to not wake the old man. He deflated, rubbing his stubbled jaw. "Javi. He lost his job. Bad investments, some crypto scam. The pension's just bridging the gap. It's temporary, for us." The word landed like a gut punch. "Grandpa's pension? That's his security, Peter. Not your boyfriend's yacht fund." "It's not like that." But his eyes darted away, guilty as a kid caught swiping cookies. He confessed in fits. Javi's debts from lavish weekends in Vegas, the Porsche lease he'd hidden, how the direct deposits vanished into wire transfers south of the border to Javi's family obligations. Peter had forged a few signatures. Nothing major, he swore. Just to keep the lights on for their life in Wicker Park, the one with rooftop views and craft cocktails. Grandpa's care? We'll figure it out. Rage boiled up, hot as the steel Grandpa once forged. "You're robbing him blind. For what? A guy who treats you like an ATM." Peter flinched, but Javi's shadow loomed. Charming, insatiable. The anti-Peter who whispered sweet nothings over Peter's quiet strength. I stormed out, slamming the door on Peter's pleas, the rain mirroring the storm in my soul. Months blurred into a haze of resentment. I funneled my fury into work, testifying at City Hall for funding cuts that starved families like ours. Peter ghosted, Javi posting thirst traps from Miami on Insta while Peter's feed went dark. Grandpa worsened. Another mini-stroke, bed sores from skipped aids, phoned into 911 by a nosy neighbor. Mom and I scraped together what we could, but the hospital bills mounted like drifts after a blizzard. The breaking point came last November, the date etched in my bones. The 29th, with lake-effect snow blanketing the city in white lies. I just wrapped a panel on housing discrimination when my phone buzzed. "Mom. Grandpa's coding. Get here now." The drive to Rush was a blur, tires hydroplaning through red lights, my heart a freight train off the rails. I burst into the ICU, the beeps a dirge, and there was Peter in the doorway, hollow-eyed, Javi's arms slung possessively around his waist like a noose. "You?" I snarled, shoving past nurses. "After everything?" Peter's face crumpled. I didn't. Save it." The room spun. Grandpa's frail form wired to machines, tubes snaking like accusations. A photo of Grandma clutched in his liver-spotted hand. Javi smirked, murmuring, "Babe, let's go." But Peter shrugged him off, staggering forward. "It's over," Peter whispered, voice cracking like ice on the Chicago River. "Javi took the last check this morning. For his fresh start. Left me the tab." The betrayal hit him then, raw and reckoning. Eyes welling as he sank to his knees by Grandpa's bed. "What have I done, God, what have I done to us?" In that suspended breath, with monitors wailing and rain lashing the windows, something fractured open in me. Not just anger, but the love I'd buried under layers of uncle and family. I knelt beside him, our shoulders brushing, the scent of his regret mingling with antiseptic. "You fought for me once," I said, voice steadying. "Let me fight for you now." The justice wasn't swift or cinematic, no courtroom drama, no viral takedown. It was the slow burn of American redemption. Peter's full confession to the social worker, the forensic accountant I called in from my nonprofit digging up the paper trail. Javi fled to Florida, but the feds traced the wires. Felony fraud, elder exploitation charges pending. Peter turned state's evidence, his military record buying leniency, probation, restitution from his own savings, hours at a VA hotline counseling vets on bad choices. Grandpa stabilized, moved to a subsidized spot in Hyde Park where Mom and I rotated shifts. Peter sold the Wicker Park Pied Terra, using the proceeds to backfill the pension. $42,000 clawed back from Javi's frozen accounts. But the real restoration was quieter. We started over on those stoops, beers swapped for coffee, talking real. Peter's loneliness after the Marines, how Javi preyed on it like a vulture on roadkill. My unspoken feelings, confessed one dawn as gulls wheeled over the lake. I loved you first, Pete, not as family. Everything. He didn't recoil. Instead, his hand found mine, calluses rough against my palm. I was blind, scared of what it meant to choose you over the easy out. We took it slow. Dinners at Manny's Deli, walks in Grant Park where cherry blossoms mocked our hesitance. No grand gestures, just the human work of forgiveness. Him attending my panels, me holding his hand through therapy sessions unpacking the shame of his service-era closet. Grandpa passed in April, peaceful in his sleep, a Bears game flickering on the TV. At the wake in St. Adalbert's, Peter stood beside me, his arm a steady weight. He forgave me, you know, Peter murmured, nodding at the casket. Last words, fix it, son. For the boy. Tears stung, but so did hope, the kind forged in rust-belt resilience, where love isn't fireworks but the steady hum of the L train, carrying you home. We're building now, Peter and I, in a walk-up in Ukrainian village. Bookshelves crammed with my policy tomes and his dog-eared Vonnegut. Mornings tangled in sheets that smell of us. It's not perfect. Nights when his PTSD flares, or my doubts whisper of power imbalances. But it's ours. In a city of survivors, we've learned justice isn't vengeance. It's the quiet act of restoring what's broken, one heartbeat at a time. And damn if that doesn't feel like the truest romance of all.